You're seeing in another regard is the other piece of this, which is they wanted to demonstrate that this person is in custody, is in the custody of the New York City Police Department, the FBI's Violent Crime Task Force with the FBI and NYPD together, and that he is being brought to justice. But those two factors combined for the scene we saw here. The fact that the mayor, a former police captain, was present, I think was key, because he is also sending a message to New Yorkers that this kind of thing won't be tolerated and there will be justice.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that as the mayor was there shortly after, the DA Alvin Bragg had a press conference announcing that one of the mayor's top aides was facing charges in a completely separate investigation. Nevertheless, quite the split screen for the New York mayor's office. John, if you could talk to us about the significance of this evidence that we'd not seen before that was included in the federal complaint, in which Mangione was writing as of August, talking about insurance being his target. It obviously speaks to a motive, a frame of mind, and it might cut into a potential insanity defense, no?
Well, it might, or it might work certainly to his detriment. Murder is generally not a federal charge. Generally, that's a state charge, and he's charged with murder by state prosecutors. But this is interesting. In the 3-page, what they call claim of responsibility that was allegedly found on his person in his handwriting, it's addressed at the top of the page to the feds, which means he assumed that at some point he would be tracked down, identified, captured, and probably by the FBI. So that wasn't a surprise to him. It certainly came as a surprise to state prosecutors, who only learned last night that the FBI would be taking their prisoner into custody as a state Supreme Court justice was waiting in a courtroom to arraign him. But the new evidence that is cited in the complaint talks about his description in his own handwriting, not in the claim of responsibility note, but in a separate spiral notebook. Now, Boris Indriana, he refers to this spiral notebook in the claim of responsibility, allegedly, by saying the plans are in the spiral notebook, and you can look there for that. Don't try to get into my electronics because they're pretty locked down. So he basically directs them to this notebook. But he talks about his intent, as Shimon told us, to whack the CEO of one of the insurance companies at its investor conference, saying that 1.5 months, this investor conference is a true windfall, and most importantly, the message becomes self-evident. You would interpret that to say it's the investors conference. The conference is the very symbol of how the top health insurance provider company in the United States, the 5th largest company at the time in America, behind Apple, Google, and Walmart, is there meeting with their investors, talking about how much money they're making, and that killing him at what they describe in this note as the Bean Counters Conference has its own symbolism. What does he say? Because the message becomes self-evident. He also talks about the details finally coming together. I'm glad, in a way, I've procrastinated, because it allowed me to learn more about that company. The target is insurance, because it checks every box. What he's saying there is his larger problem, you could interpret that as meaning, is with the healthcare industry in general. But the insurance company is where all the costs and where the consumer may get shorted, where it all comes together. So in this complaint,
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We need to go to Shimon, because he does have some new details there at the federal courthouse. Shimon?
So we heard, as I said during my last live shot, that we're waiting to hear from Karen Agnifilo, Mangione's attorney. And she herself, Karen, said that she was seeking clarity. She was talking to the judge, and I'm not quoting here, but so in essence, what she was saying to the judge was that she was kind of surprised by this today, and that, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm just losing, let me go back. She says she's seeking clarity about the situation between the federal district and the state case. And she says she was prepared to go in arraignment on the state charges today in state court. And according to our producer in there, Karen Agnifilo suggested that Bragg's office, this is the district attorney of Manhattan who brought those state charges, that he may have not known that there were federal charges being brought against Mangione. You know, we've been speaking all morning about just how unprecedented all of this